Hi, I'm here at the corporate headquarters of Jack Henry & Associates in Monett, Missouri. Just over this hill is a thoroughly modern facility housing one of the premier business software companies in the United States. Let's go take a look at the campus. Jack Henry & Associates was formed in 1976 by Jack Henry. In 1977, JHA was incorporated and generated $9,360 in revenue. Jack Henry & Associates, JKHY on the NASDAQ, is an S&P 400 company that supports more than 11,200 financial institutions with core processing solutions, as well as highly specialized products and services that financial service organizations of all asset size and diverse business outside of the financial industry use to improve revenue growth, mitigate and control financial and operational risks, and contain operating costs. Jack Henry & Associates' unique rural location in Monett, Missouri makes them ideal candidates for corporate aircraft. Flying installation teams of 6 or 8 people across the country in support of their software, selling the travel expense and saving employees time just shows the true value of corporate aircraft. From its Monett campus to the Monett Municipal Airport, it's less than a 5-mile drive. Once at the airport, you can see the Jack Henry facilities really stand out. An office building attached to a maintenance hangar, and another hangar big enough to house 5 Citation Encores, and a lobby attached to a large parking area. Hey, I'm here at the Monett Airport. This is the home of Jack Henry & Associates Corporate Flight Department. This facility houses nearly 30 employees flying 5 aircraft all over the United States. Let's go take a look inside. Once inside Jack Henry & Associates office facility at the airport, you see long hallways filled with thank you notes, a spacious training room for meeting and pilot training. There's also a weight room and a rest facility with a shower for those long days. Now let's meet a few of the people that help make this department run. Alright, I'm here with Brian Hunter. Brian, what's your title and job duties here at Jack Henry?
My job title is Travel General Manager, and I manage the travel department for Jack Henry & Associates, and that basically means that we take care of all of the travel needs, both corporate and commercial, for anybody in the company, and out of one location. So it's a get everything you want in one location type of a shop.
Right. And how did you go about determining whether to have your own aircraft or to do a fractional or a charter? How did you break down that?
Well, originally in the company, I believe that the original owner was a pilot, so they saw the need for a company airplane. After we owned airplanes for quite a while, we did do a financial analysis on it, and basically what I found out was that if you wanted to own your own airplane, you needed to have a utilization of about 400 hours a year. In other words, using an airplane 400 hours a year. Anything under 400 hours was a good use for a fractional, like a NetJets or a Flight Options type of a company. And if you have a need for less than about 200 hours a year and on down to ad hoc usage, basically you're better off using a charter outfit for that type of use.
Okay. How did you get your start with Jack Henry, and how long have you been with the company?
I guess I got my start by luck. Um, my dad just retired from the airlines. He's been in the airlines all of his life. Just retired from American Airlines, and I grew up an airline kid. And I was, you know, the catch-22 in aviation is that you need experience and time, but no one's willing to give you experience and time in the beginning. So basically, I just came begging and pleading for a job and you know, the opportunity to fly with this company. And so I basically hit it off with the people here. It was a very small company. I was the 75th employee when I started, when they hired me, and that's kind of how I got started. I got started as a pilot, and I was just looking for experience and time flown in the airplane.
Okay. What's the most challenging part of your job, and then the most rewarding part?
Well, challenging from the perspective of having, I think, to do it every day. I don't think it bothers me per se. I just think you kind of have to do this every day. Is trying to get. We've combined a lot of different entities within the travel department, so I think it's somewhat difficult sometimes to try to get everybody to accomplish the same goal. Everybody has different experiences and they perceive things differently. So sometimes they kind of put up roadblocks for each other, and typically just trying to find a win-win solution for the people within our department so that they can work towards the same goal, I think is one of the bigger challenges for me on a daily basis, trying to come up with solutions to do that. What was the other part?
The most rewarding. What's the most rewarding part?
The most rewarding, I think, is to see somebody start off and make the most of themselves. You know, to grow, to realize the benefits of the job, what the company does, try to continue to excel themselves personally. If I can be a part of that, that's very rewarding.
Yeah. How many employees do you have in the travel department out at the airport?
28.
28, okay.
Right, composed of pilots, we call them travel counselors. It's probably, you know them better as travel agents. Then maintenance crew, the people who work on the airplanes, and the ground crew, the people who fuel up the airplanes, clean them every night, tow them in and out of the hangar, that sort of thing.
Right. And how many aircraft do you have flying out here for Jack Henry?
We have 4 jets, and we have 1 small prop airplane for smaller hops.
Perfect. Okay, well, thanks for your time. Okay, we're here with Steve Morley. Steve, what's your job title and your job duties here at Jack Henry?
All right, I am the chief pilot, and obviously as a chief pilot, just kind of managing the pilots and watching the schedule and taking care of policies and procedures and hiring and things of that nature.
And how did you get your start with Jack Henry, and how long have you been here?
Okay, I am a military guy. Was 20 years in the Air Force. Retired as an Air Force guy. Flew heavies, C-141s, RC-135s. Did time in training and T-38s as a instructor pilot, and also in the Beach Jet. And came here because my wife was from this area, and so she had family in the company, and it sounded like came here, kind of checked it out. Seemed like a great job, great opportunity, and the organization seemed to be a real high quality organization. So that got me interested, and so I went for it from there.
Perfect. What's the most challenging part of your job as the chief pilot? What makes it more difficult in your position?
Yeah, really the most challenging part, the easiest part is the flying and just being out with the guys doing the trips. That's the fun part of it. The hardest part, honestly, is the administrative side, the budget side. There's a time of the year when we're building the next fiscal year budget. A lot of work there. About that same time, you're figuring out salary increases. You're doing appraisal season with all your guys, writing up their appraisals. Just a lot going on. That usually happens during the summer period when you have a lot of guys out on vacation as well. So you got the the schedule's kind of hard to fill, and then you got all this other stuff going on at the same time. So it makes for some pretty hectic days at times.
Perfect. And what's the most rewarding part, or what do you feel has been your biggest accomplishment maybe over the last year?
I think obviously right now we haven't finished it off yet, but we've been working towards this ISBEO certification, International Business Association, and it's kind of a worldwide recognized standard. There's not that many flight departments in the country that have done it yet. It's mainly the bigger guys, Coca-Cola, John Deere, some of the big guys, and we're kind of maybe one of the smaller ones to take this on. But it's involved a lot of processes, safety things, new operational concepts, and kind of rewriting our procedures a lot. But it's been a good thing to work towards. It's making us more professional, and it's going to help us out in a lot of ways. It's going to lower insurance costs, and will have a lot of benefits to it. So.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Steve.
You're very welcome.
With airline tickets, hotel rooms, rental cars, and 5 corporate aircraft to schedule, it can obviously get hectic. Helping out are 11 employees that Jack Henry refers to as counselors that do all of the organizational booking for the company. Now I'm here with Kelly Russo. And Kelly, what's your title and job duties at Jack Henry?
Hi, my title is Travel Department Supervisor, and job duties really cover the aspect of keeping corporate and commercial travel on schedule, and maintaining functionality with keeping customer service our top priority.
Okay. And within your job, does that entail working with the pilots, and what all does your job encompass?
Yes. We work with counselors, pilots, ground crew, and maintenance. And basically what we do is we schedule corporate aircraft for our in-house travelers, and basically we will take them wherever they need to go. We work with the pilots basically to let them know weight and balance on the aircraft, what their pilots, if someone goes by an alias, we let them know what that might be. We book their hotel and their car if they need a hotel and a car for the overnight, and basically just keep the schedule intact. We have in-house maintenance now that takes care of all of our corporate airplanes, and we also have a ground crew. We have to keep up with them because we have to let them know that they need to fuel the plane for the pilot so that it's ready. The pilots actually take care of telling the ground crew how much fuel they need on board. However, it takes all of us together to make that work.
Okay. And where do you come from? How did you get your start at Jack Henry?
I actually worked 10 years in leisure travel in Joplin, Missouri. And after 9/11, I decided that, as that was a commission-based salary, that I needed to probably broaden my horizons. And I actually found out about Jack Henry by someone that was working with me at the time. And she had interviewed with Jack Henry and didn't get the position. So I called, and at the time was 7 months pregnant, having no idea that I would be accepted for the position. Spoke with the manager at the time, advised her that I had 10 years experience and that I was interested in interviewing. And being the great company that it is, they hired me 7 months pregnant, and I will now be here 10 years in April.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Excellent. And what do you find is the most rewarding or the most challenging part of your job?
To me, the most rewarding part is that we see the travel from the time that the request is taken all the way through till travel is completed. Whether that means we have someone that has had an emergency, that we need to get the pilots en route within a 2-hour time frame. We have a 2-hour call out for our pilots. They're very respectful and ready to go. To me, it's rewarding to know that we can take our aircraft and get someone directly to where they need to be in a very limited amount of time, and for them not to have to change planes or be stuck in an airport or anything like that along the way. Challenges that we might face would be, for me, really, the biggest challenge for me is a sense of completion. With corporate aviation, you don't always have a sense of completion. And I'm one of those people that likes to see something through from point A to point Z, and unfortunately, in this business, you can't always do that. You can really have to depend on the 5 people that do corporate in our department to take all the pieces of the puzzle together as a collective effort, complete it from point A to point Z. And to me, that was the most challenging thing for me to learn.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you.
I'm here with Christy Golubski. And Christy, what's your title here at Jack Henry?
Travel specialist.
And what do your job duties entail?
I am responsible for training for the corporate counselors that schedule the corporate aircraft. I take care of reviews, getting those together for performance, as well as assist in scheduling and helping with the operations.
Okay. And what did you do before Jack Henry, and how did you get your start here?
I worked at a local travel agency doing commercial reservations, and then I went to another corporation and where I started doing a little bit of corporate travel, and then when I came to Jack Henry, I really dug into it more.
Okay. And what do you think has been your biggest accomplishment, or what's given you the most satisfaction in your job?
Probably learning all the different areas of the corporate travel in regards to the scheduling of the aircraft, and learning the A&P and the regulations that go with scheduling the pilots and not overextending them, and really how to make our schedule work and fit.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your time, Christy. Jack Henry & Associates has an in-house maintenance program consisting of a maintenance manager and a maintenance technician. All maintenance is performed on Jack Henry aircraft in their own hangar or coordinated through this department. I'm here with Chris Ridings, and Chris, what is your job title and what are your duties at Jack Henry?
I'm Director of Maintenance at Jack Henry. I've been here for 6 years, and so I manage the maintenance on 4 Encores and 1 Beach Bonanza.
And where did you come from?
Came from Kansas City at a corporate flight department there.
Okay. And how did you get your job in corporate aviation with Jack Henry? How did you get your start in corporate aviation?
Well, started out going to A&P school and did that for, actually I got caught up in the Great Flood of '93 in Kansas City, so my A&P school got interrupted. So it took me 2 years to get through it in a 14-month course. But I've been doing this for 17 years now, and 6 of it has been at Jack Henry.
Okay. What's the most challenging part of your job?
Probably the most challenging part of my job is when things break down on the road. Just, I've got all my resources and all my tools here, but when it happens on the road, then I got to go outside of the box and do things a little differently to get the airplanes taken care of.
And would that require you driving or maybe dispatching one of the other airplanes?
We do all kinds of things. We've got to call for help, or we've got to fly there, or we've got to drive there. Once in a while we can figure out how we can MEL something and get the airplane back home. We've flown airplanes home with the landing gear down just so we could fix it.
Okay. And what's MEL mean?
It's the minimum equipment list. There's one for each airplane, and it just tells you the things that have to operate for you to safely fly the airplane. If something is on the list that can be broken, they may give you a restriction. Fly under this airspeed, under this altitude, no passengers. They'll give you guidance on how you can still safely operate the airplane.
Okay. And what would you say would be your biggest accomplishment here at Jack Henry, or the most rewarding part of your job?
Well, I think the biggest accomplishment, the main goal is to just have a clean safety record. When I retire from doing this, I want to look back and say, nobody got hurt, nobody got killed. I kept the airplane safe.
All right, real good. Well, thanks for your time, Chris.
Sure.
We're here with Terry Leach. Terry, what do you do at Jack Henry, and what does your job entail?
I am a mechanic. I maintain all of the corporate aircraft here. We have 4 Encores and 1 Bonanza. My job is basically maintenance, preventive maintenance. I take care of all the inspections, anything that happens, anything that may pop up, flats, whatnot. What's your next?
Okay. How did you get your start with Jack Henry?
I started as a contractor. They got my foot in the door. I had limited experience as far as business aircraft were concerned. I guess I showed that I could be a reliable employee, and after a limited amount of time, they hired me on full time.
Well, what'd you do before Jack Henry, and how'd you get into the contract business?
Before I came here, I worked at a repair station at a overhaul facility in Neosho, Missouri, Premier Turbines. I mainly took care of the the Honeywell 731, which is a large bypass turbofan. It was a nice engine. I was really comfortable with it. Didn't know much about the Pratt & Whitneys, which is on these aircraft, so I had a lot to learn.
The 731s, are those on like Falcons and Learjets, or what are those on?
Well, I wish I could tell you.
No, you don't know. You just did the overhauls.
Well, and they can come off a number of aircraft. I've seen them on many different aircraft. Basically, customers, like we do, pull their engines and ship them in.
Okay.
So, I mean, the 535, which we have here, is not only on the Encore, but it's on the Embraer, the Phenom 300, and any other application they may have decided to put it on.
Okay. What's your work schedule like?
My schedule is basically I'm on call all the time. I try to come in every day to maintain the aircraft, keep an eye on what's going on, but basically if something pops up, that's what we're here for.
Okay.
It can be grueling, it can be lax.
Are you able to control when you come in each day, like what time you come in to get your work done?
My schedule is my own. So if I know that I've got aircraft coming in the evening and I don't want to work during the day, I don't have to. If I want to come in the morning and split my day up, I can do that as well. It's very flexible. If I need to be gone, for the most part, sometimes I can be. Other than that, it's just an as-needed basis.
Okay. What's the most challenging or rewarding part of your job?
Challenging is keeping up with, right now I have 5. We had 6 aircraft that I kept up with. This was a 3-man department. We're down to 1 man with the economy the way that it's been. We've now opened up positions, but we haven't had any takers. So I've been the single mechanic for the last 2 years. I live here, love it. I love what I do. It makes a huge difference. If you don't love what you do, don't do it.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's definitely the most challenging, is just finding time. The most rewarding, our large inspection is a Phase 5, in which case we gut the plane. I mean, I gut it. To see it, it's impressive. After I'm done putting it back together, the most rewarding is watching it just rotate right off the runway. I just start laughing inside.
Right on. All right. Thanks a lot, Terry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jack Henry & Associates fly the Citation Encore jet aircraft. They also have an A-36 Bonanza. The Citation Encore has a takeoff weight around 17,000 pounds, can fly at 480 miles an hour up to 45,000 feet of altitude, and can carry 5 passengers 1,600 miles and as many as 8 to 9 passengers 1,200 miles. I'm here with Kent Voss, and Kent, what's your title with the company and what are your job duties?
I'm training coordinator, and I fly our Citation Encores, and I train our pilots in the airplane both to be captains and also SICs and whatever their role would be in that particular position that they would be required to do.
Okay.
And then I also keep them current in the airplane. So we do we have CBT training that we do. We go down to the simulator every year, and so I run the simulator for them as well down in Dallas. And we get time that we buy from CAE, and we train our pilots in our procedures, so they train exactly the way they're going to fly in the airplane as well.
And what's a CBT?
Computer-based training. So all the RVSM, TCAS training, ground procs training for our airplane, and all the things like that. We also have icing, the NASA icing video, and things of that nature that we do on computer-based training.
Okay. And how long have you been with Jack Henry, and how did you get your start?
I've been with Jack Henry coming up on 20 years now, and I was flight instructing at College of the Ozarks in Branson, and my instructor moved up here, and I kept in touch with him, and his boss hired me, and that's how by word of mouth and by keeping in touch with people is how I got started here at Jack Henry and started flying here. So.
Okay. What would be the most challenging part of your job, and then on the other side, what would be the most rewarding part of your job?
Challenging is being away from my family. It wasn't so hard at the beginning, but now as I've got children at home and stuff like that, it's a lot more challenging for me to be out on the road and gone on several overnights. And so that's a challenging aspect for me, and so I do trade off on things to try to make it so I can be at home more, and the company's been working with me really well the last several years to help make that happen, so I'm not on the road as much, because that's a lot harder for me now than it used to be. And then what was the other question?
The most rewarding part of your job, yeah.
The most rewarding part is taking somebody that is just starting in aviation or just starting with the company and training them from ground zero and bringing them all the way up to be a captain. That's extremely rewarding, and I really enjoy that a lot, is teaching people and hopefully bringing them to that next level or the next several levels in aviation, and just helping them along in life. That's tremendously rewarding for me.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot for your time, Kent.
Yep.
I'm here with Rob Lewis. And Rob, what's your title and what are your job duties at Jack Henry?
I am the Aviation Safety Officer, and my job duties are maintaining and managing our safety management system. I improve it and look for ways to make the company a better place to work. And that's pretty much it.
How long have
It's
you
a
been
lot
with?
to do.
Yeah. How long have you been with Jack Henry?
Going into my 14th year.
And how did you get your start at Jack Henry?
A close friend of mine from Kansas City started working here first and recommended me for the job, and it's all networking with CorpAviation.
You could say me.
it was John.
And what's the most challenging or most rewarding part of your job?
The most challenging thing in the recent past has been getting the company ready for an SBAO audit. That's the international standard for business aircraft operators. Being a domestic company, we're not required to do that, but we're going to go ahead and become a SBAO registered company just to better ourselves.
And what does that stand for?
International Standard for Business Aircraft Operators.
And you're currently preparing for an audit?
Yes.
You'll have an auditor come in and take a look at, and you were saying that you had a couple of items up on the overhead that you're working on?
Yes.
Is there anything up there that you might want to show a group of maybe interested corporate pilots?
These are the SBAO protocols that our SBAO auditor will come, and we have to prove that we satisfy each and all of these questions.
So just hit a section here real quick. You've got
This
like
one's just talking about noise abatement for the airplane. That's
Okay.
pretty general. Let's go up to, I'll tell you what, let's go up to chapter 2, where it talks about the SMS. This is what I worked on. This is our training philosophy, our training, and you can see, does the operator have a training program that ensures that personnel are trained and competent to perform their assigned duties? And what I'm doing right now is I'm going through our flight operations manual and answering each one of these protocols with the chapter and verse, if you will, how the company is addressing these protocols.
Okay, so how fitting that we're in a classroom, in the training room
Yeah,
for the company. All right, well, thank you very much, Rob.
you're welcome.
We're with Rob Vandiver, and Rob, what's your job title in the department?
I'm an instructor pilot here at Jack Henry & Associates.
And what are your job duties?
Basically, what I do is instruct the new pilots that come in, teach them the way that we run the operation here, cover our flight operations manual with them, the different uniquenesses of our operation and how we like to operate the aircraft here at Jack Henry's. Aside from that, I do a lot of the electronics in the cockpit, our EFBs, electronic flight bags, updating and stuff like that. Keep everything up to date.
And what are your EFBs? What exactly is that?
Well, electronic flight bags is basically all of the documentations, paper manuals and such that we used to carry in the cockpit. Now we've converted them to digital copies, and we'll keep them on some sort of electronic media, which reduces the weight and the clutter in the cockpit, and it's easy to access for the pilot. Electronic charting and such is also on there.
So when you update the charts, how long does that take, and what's the old method versus the new method?
Well, old method would be basically getting revisions in a couple of times a month. That could be anywhere from a couple of pages to several pages, and you're basically just pull and pluck and put the new ones in. Whereas
It was like hours of paper
yeah,
removal.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So with the digital method now, you download an entire database in a matter of minutes, and everything's updated.
Okay, and you have the electronic chart with you.
Yes.
How does the electronic charting work for the aircraft?
Well, basically, all of these charts help with our navigation, and obviously, when we have to try to make it into an airport that's covered in clouds or fog or what have you, and you can't see it visually, you have to use a chart to get in. On the EFB, which is our iPad, we'll open up our charting program, and it comes right up to the location that you were at previously, or you can search for another airport if that's not the correct chart. But basically, it's very simple to access charts that you need to switch around, switch to different airports. And what's beneficial about this is, whereas it's that quick to do electronically, the old method of paper charts, you have to find a particular binder, one out of several binders that might have that particular location in it. And then you're flipping through multiple pages trying to find a particular location or chart that you need, whereas you can just search for a chart.
And it's right up.
Electronically, and it's right there, which is important, when you're time critical, trying to change an approach or shoot a different runway, approach to a different runway.
Now, can you guys get weather on those also?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yep. We can get weather, and we can get georeferencing.
So it would
charts as well.
would it show the weather right on that chart? Like radar would show up with the storm cell right on that chart?
Yeah, actually it does. So you can see your position of your aircraft versus where the weather is versus where your airport is.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's good,
amazing.
good situational awareness. You just have to be aware that the image that you get could be as much as 10 to 15 minutes old, but it still helps out with determining where the weather is in relation to your airport.
Okay. And what's your favorite part of the job here at Jack Henry?
The sense of accomplishment of getting people where they need to go. Actually, my favorite part would be bringing people home that have been gone for a week. They're out working on their last day, and whereas they'd have to spend an extra day just to travel home because they worked all day one day, they couldn't catch flights till the next business day, or the next day. It's nice to just show up at the end of the day. They come onto the airplane, we get them home, and you pull up into the ramp here and you see their family waiting for them right as they walk off the airplane. So it's a sense of accomplishment, and you're making other people glad to be here at Jack Henry.
Cool. Thanks, Rob. All right, I'm here with Chris Ackridge. Chris, what's your job duty and title at Jack Henry?
I'm a captain and considered a specialist. I have assigned duties. Right now, one of my biggest duties is working on an aircraft comparison to see what we should use for our next fleet.
Okay, and what exactly is a specialist? You're a captain in the airplane, and then...
Captain in the airplane, then I have special duties assigned to me via paperwork. Most airline pilots don't really deal with paperwork or anything, but corporate we have to deal with quite a bit.
Okay, what are some of your extra duties? You said research an aircraft, and what else do you do?
Right now I'm doing an aircraft comparison between two airplanes to see which one fits our fleet the best as far as we're moving forward. Our Encores are now, I think, 10 to 11 years old, so it's about time to replace the fleet.
Yeah.
As well, I run some reports to look up the numbers for what we fly each month, average trip length, and then also do some stuff with the schedule.
Okay. How did you get your start with Jack Henry?
One of our other pilots, Rob Vandiver, actually is part of the reason why I got to start. I knew him, and then have him submit my resume, and then I also have to know somebody that is higher up in the company. That was a family friend that also made a call on my behalf.
Okay.
So that's who you know.
Right on. What's the most rewarding or challenging part of your job?
Rewarding is definitely just getting to fly the airplanes. I guess people don't really realize how hard it is to stick something moving, 150 miles an hour on a strip of concrete that's 75 feet wide, and sometimes only like 3,000 feet long. Challenging would have to be sometimes the schedule doesn't really work out the way you want. we get quite a bit of time off, but at the same time, you may not know your schedule except for a day in advance, so you can't really plan a whole lot.
Yeah, so that'd be challenging with planning your schedule or family
for
events
family
or
events,
yeah. I'm going to take a minute here and we'll look over your schedule.
So,
Okay, we're here with Chris, and Chris is going to talk about the pilot schedule at Jack Henry.
alright, so looking at our schedule, we use a software called PFM, and what it allows the counselors to do is set up our schedules and also give us a view of it. So we have the actual schedule view plus a crew grid, and what the crew grid does is when we bring it up, it tells us what days we're flying without having to look for our specific initials on each one of these trips. Alright, so going back, if we look at the 1st of October, be the way our schedule works, the majority of us have Saturdays off. Saturdays, the company tends not to fly very much, but Sunday is actually a work day like any other weekday would be.
Okay.
We're usually positioning install groups or even executives places for their Monday morning meetings. So going over our initials, KAA are my initials. So going back towards the 1st of October, I had a trip on October the 3rd. October the 4th was what we call a white day. A white day is considered a working day, but you're not scheduled to fly, but they can call you for a 2-hour pop-up trip if they needed to.
Okay.
And then I had another trip going on Wednesday, and so if I click on this, I can see what the actual details of the trip were, what airplane I was in, and then where I was going. And this time I was actually going to Lancaster.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
And then I had taken a vacation day on Friday, so the only 2 days I worked that week were Monday and Wednesday.
That's nice.
Yeah, there are definitely some nice weeks, but then if we skip ahead another week, you can see trips for other people. We have another pilot here, initials AS. He flew Sunday through Friday.
And the gray is one trip?
The gray is the overnights.
Okay.
So as we click on it, you'll see they're checked on as an overnight. So he overnighted in Danville, Virginia. And then the next day went on to Louisville. And then the next day he went on.
Looks like Hartford and I don't know the other one.
I actually don't either.
Yeah.
And then did not get home until Friday, and I think he got home Friday evening. Yeah, Friday evening at 8 p.m.
So
That's
he
when he
was
got
out Saturday to Friday, but that's a fairly rare trip.
Yes.
And that's the gray color. What are the orange colors, the eyes on there?
These are our guaranteed days off. So we have a schedule that we bid. When we bring up our schedule, it shows bid lines, and what it enables us to do is choose, based on our order in the seniority chart, what we'd like to bid for that month.
Okay.
So I can bid Saturday and Sundays off, or I can have like a Thursday off during the week and a Saturday off that week.
And it looks like they vary for each pilot, depending on what days you'd like to have off.
They normally do.
And the blue tees, what are those?
These are considered training days, so we have a couple pilots that are in training to be captains right now. So you'll see a lot of the T's on our actual training pilots. And what it does, it blocks them out, allows them to do either ground school or even training flights with the new guys.
Okay.
And then some of us have to do recurrent at different times during the year. And you'll see a T on that as well, depending on what we're doing. I had a T day on November the 3rd. And if you
And
go
that
back,
was training that you did
yeah,
in the classroom?
it was a CPR training for the company.
Oh, okay.
And then if you move on to a Friday, so this Friday would have been November the 18th. We had an airplane in here that we were test flying, and so some of us were on the schedule or on there not to be scheduled because we were actually going to fly that airplane.
That's fine. Okay. Let's see. What are the light blue S's on the screen?
These are vacation days, but they're called a standby vacation. And so what happens with that is You can submit it, but they can pull it 24 hours out if they need to make the schedule work.
Okay.
So that, I mean, that's some of the challenges is you can't always be guaranteed your vacation.
Yeah, so you put in a vacation request, and depending on how many trips the company has, you may or may not be able to get that, but you'll know a day ahead.
Correct.
Okay. And then the pink V's,
Pink V's are considered hard vacations, so these you're guaranteed to have.
and you're going to be off for that.
And our chief pilot does a really good job of trying to work with us, so if there are no V's available, so if all he can give you is an S, he will speak to the other pilots. If you're, say, going to go to Mexico on vacation, he'll speak with the other pilots to make sure that he has somebody to cover in case they needed to call somebody.
Okay. And then that big black block of trips.
All right, so we're looking from the 16th to the 21st of October. This is considered a blackout period. What that does for us is it does not enable us to take any vacation. Your hard days are not technically hard days anymore, so it's not a guaranteed day off, but they will schedule you last
Okay.
if you do have what's considered a hard day in there.
And the hard days show up as, did you say U's in there?
No, they just show up as, I think they show up as the B, because the blackout takes over.
Okay.
And the U's just mean that pilot is unavailable at the time, which
Okay.
this pilot was unavailable because he was actually attending the conference.
Oh, okay. And the last one that I see on there are the green P's. What do those mean?
And these are only for the weekends, and they are considered pager. So we always have 2 pilots on call during the weekend in case there's an emergency trip up. The company does a really good job of taking care of our employees, and the fact that if there's an emergency trip for a family emergency and somebody's on the road, they can dispatch those pilots. Or if a bank has an issue and it's an emergency trip where we need to get a crew out there to work with them, we have 2 pilots on call, and those pilots need to be at the airport and airborne within 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the availability with all the days off there on the Saturdays. All right. Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm here with Rich Colley. Rich, what's your title with the company?
I am the co-pilot.
And what are your job duties?
My job duties is to do everything the captain does not want to do.
And what does that include?
Everything except fly the plane.
Yeah, you do all the flight planning and weight and balance.
Yeah, we do all the flight planning, weight and balance. We review the weather usually first, and then we brief the captain on it. Our job is to basically make sure the captain has time to review the big situation. So we take care of all the small stuff and bring everything to his attention so we can evaluate the whole scenario and make the best decision possible.
Okay. And how long have you been with Jack Henry?
4 years.
4 years. And do you have an example there on your desk of the flight planning sheet that you guys use?
We do.
And how does that work?
Basically, it has time, altitude, distance. Almost everything that's on your flight plan is on here, except we have a couple extra things for our zero fuel weights and stuff like that that we can come to real quickly if we find that we have more weight than we predicted, because everything's a prediction until you get out there. Nothing's a science in corporate aviation. You may have one bag. They say they're bringing one bag, and you come to find out there's 12 bags, and they all weigh 500 pounds. So life changes.
Yeah, it's a variable. All right, Rich. Well, thanks for your time. Hey, we're here with Josh Owen. Josh, what's your title with the company and your job duties?
I'm a captain specialist, which means that when I'm with junior or SIC, second in commands, then I can captain the ship. Line pilot is probably a better term for that.
How did you get your start, and how long have you been with Jack Henry?
I got my start. One of the other pilots, actually, that did some contract work for the previous company I worked for, built a relationship/friendship with them, and that's how I actually heard about the job opening and applied. And then, of course, the interview process. Ultimately, I was hired. But I've been here just over 6 months. Previous experience was a jet. I had some previous experience in a similar citation with a local company.
Okay, real good. And what would you say is your biggest accomplishment, or what do you look forward to accomplishing with the company?
Just proving that that I can safely transport people and represent safety in an aviation capacity to them, and give them a good feeling that, hey, Josh is up front. I know he's going to take care of me, and that gives them hopefully a lot of peace of mind, as well as their families. They can go back and say, you know, I trust the guys that are up front. They're going to get me safely to my destination.
Right on. Okay, thanks for your time, Josh.
Appreciate it.
And finally, safely towing the aircraft in and out of the hangar, fueling the aircraft for the next business day, cleaning the aircraft upon their return, and promptly setting up the aircraft for its early morning flight is the job of the ground crew. I'm here with Steve Skaggs, and Steve, what's your job title and job duties here at Jack Henry?
My job title is line crew supervisor, and my duties include another gentleman that works underneath me, and we ensure the cleanliness of our aircraft, the fueling, the safe movement of our aircraft hangar, and our apron that we operate off of.
Okay, and how did you get your start at Jack Henry?
I got my start. I had a friend that recommended me for the position. There was an opening, and someone had moved up in the company, and so I applied, went through the interview process, and was hired in 1996.
Okay, so you've been here since 1996, 15 years?
15 years.
Okay, real good. And what's your work schedule like?
My work schedule varies pretty dramatically. I generally start anywhere between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. and I typically work an 8-hour schedule with a lunch. Do come up quite often in the evenings and cross-train with another employee, make sure that he understands paperwork, and kind of jump back and forth. I do take that time back off during the week. So some evenings I don't come up, but almost every evening I am up at some point just to kind of see what's going on, make sure everything's operating smoothly.
Okay, and you work like every other weekend?
Work every other weekend, typically Sunday, sometimes Saturday, but typically Sunday, usually afternoon flights, a lot of times those flights overnight and then come back early Monday morning, so anywhere from average 2 flights, but could be a full, everything flying, coming back and leaving again, so it's so in corporate, what we do in all our offices and time zones, we're just coming and going at all hours, so we stay busy. We have to be very flexible.
Yeah. And what's the most challenging and most rewarding parts of what you do?
The most challenging is keeping the aircraft clean, because we clean them from top to bottom now, bellies, landing gear, every time they fly. I think the most rewarding thing is that we sit back and know the work that goes into cleaning each plane for each trip, and our customers expect that, and I don't think they really realize what it takes to make a trip happen, and so it's rewarding in that regard. You know, that we know, but they don't. It's a smooth operation and everything's spotless, and they never have a clue. You know, and so that's the rewarding thing about it for me.
Real good. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
It's just the day-to-day, how things jump, how the schedule can change, and it's all over the place, and just trying to coordinate, being able to get everything accomplished, and then when you throw weather in on top of that, it becomes quite a challenge.
Yeah. All right. Well, real good. Thanks for your time, Steve. As you can see, there are several advantages to corporate aviation travel. First and foremost, time. Point-to-point travel, increasing efficiency, and merely putting more emphasis on your employees' time as a value. Security over the flight, security over your cabin, and security for your employees, second. Third, environmental, your meeting, your plan, your pilots, your time, everything under control. And finally, simply minutes to your luggage, minutes to your car, minutes to your office. These are truly time machines. I'm here at the Jack Henry & Associates corporate office. This unassuming location hides a thoroughly...
At the time, and another instructor I worked with had applied and did not get the job, so then I applied.
Hang on.
Okay.
I screwed up.
What do you mean? There I am. I have a trip scheduled for Monday the 7th, Tuesday the 8th. Let's redo it.
Okay.
It's on the wrong days.
Why? Trying to keep you off camera.
Cleanliness of the facilities, the aircraft, and we currently have 4, so.
We're here with Terry. Terry's a mechanic with Jack Henry. Tell us what your job entails and that's terrible. And if you were digging through a paper book, it would take you this long to get a paper chart anyway.
Got it.
Yeah, I'll edit.
This is, hold on.
Okay, we've got a chart up, and tell us about how this charting works.
Okay, scratch that one.
Yeah, forget it. Okay, we're here with Steve Morley. Steve is the chief pilot for the operation. And tell us, dang, I forgot my first question. Isn't that bad?